As members of the Quiet Council jockey for power and control, will the island of Krakoa itself be caught in the crossfire? Well, let's hop into the pages of Immortal X-Men issue number 2 and find out together, shall we? So then, as you may or may not recall, the previous issue was actually quite Mr. Sinister heavy, but here in the second issue, the POV changes entirely to Hope Summers, the newest member of the Quiet Council. She jumps right into action and mobilizes both the other council members and citizens of the island when it comes under attack by a monster summoned by Selene. Selene, of course, you may remember, got passed over for a post on the Quiet Council and as such has decided to take out her piss and vinegar on the entire island. Her monster also isn't just some regular old run of the magical mill, quite the opposite. It's one of the Krakoan gates given form and turned into a destructive weapon. Love or hate Selene, you really gotta give her credit for taking petty to the next level, because as her creature rampages across the island, she just pieces out and goes to visit Kavanakaba in Britain. Now, in Hope's Eternal Monologue, she talks a lot about what it means to be on a team and how her time on the Five has maybe left her a little soft. She's used to being more in the field. She's also used to carrying a sidearm, something she doesn't have anymore. The Quiet Council is, of course, an odd group, too. They're supposed to be looking out for the interest of all of mutant kind, but at the same time, they're just as much enemies as they are friends, trying to get their own personal agendas to the top of the list, and that's before we even mention the ones that are actively being sleeper agents. Hope does realize, though, that on their own they are some of the most powerful and influential mutants in all of the world, and that any of them on their own probably could have dealt with this monster problem, but when they come together, some amazing stuff truly happens. Like Storm and Magneto pulling off one hell of a combo move on this creature. Eric impales it with a bunch of metal while Aurora hits it with lightning bolts. Here's the problem, though. As cool as that move was, it doesn't actually work. Because the creature was made from a gate, it means it exists in multiple dimensions at once, and doing a lot of damage only serves to slow it down. So it looks like if they want to actually figure out how to stop this thing once and for all, they're going to have to pull out the big guns. Hope actually ends up continuing her strange growing relationship with Exodus, who sees her as some sort of god messiah figure. Hope borrows Exodus's own power to grow stronger when people believe in him, in doing so to try and repel the beast. When even that fails to work, it's Mr. Sinister of all people who ends up coming on in with one hell of a play. You see, he shoots himself up with a brand new serum he's been working on for his Chimera mutant project, one that allows him to grow to massive size. We also learn from the appendix reading, apparently the island nation of Krakoa has multiple different kaiju protocols for just a situation wherein a giant monster could threaten them all. It's very funny. Obviously, the likes of Professor X are positively terrified that Sinister was sitting on something like this, but Nathaniel is sure to tell everyone that this is the early stages of the serum, that this growth is far from tenable, and that he is growing more and more teeth in every orifice by the second. Pure Cronenberg shit. The other major downside of this kaiju serum is that it causes Mr. Sinister to, well, explode. Thankfully, he's not dead, though, because Nightwing was able to swoop on in and save him, and the explosion managed to do just enough damage to the creature that it's going to take a while for it to ultimately reform, which in turn gives the Quiet Council a chance to go over their options. It's Destiny who proves to be the real VIP in this situation, whispering in Hope's ear, saying that she has a vision that at some point in the future, Selene is going to be standing by a window for no more than 3 seconds. And whatever Hope should do in that situation, well, that's most certainly up to her. It's right around here we're reminded that Hope was raised by none other than Cable, and as such knows her way around a sniper rifle pretty good. In a truly awesome scene that feels like something out of Mission Impossible, Hope borrows some more mutant powers before jumping through a portal and pulling off an amazing Call of Duty-worthy sniper trick to take out Selene in that 3-second window. Again, don't worry, she's not dead, not forever. They can always just bring her back at the hatchery. Which they certainly do, taking advantage of Selene's post-rebirth confusion to try and read her mind and figure out how exactly to turn the monster off, which they do. Now, I know what you're probably thinking out there. Didn't Hope just break a dozen different major Krakoan rules to save the day right now? Shouldn't the Quiet Council not accept her after all of that? And, well, the answer to that question is kind of funny. Professor X and the rest of the Quiet Council admit that Hope probably broke a lot of rules, but who are they to judge? Who on the council hasn't broken a bunch of rules in the past? If anything, that kind of quick thinking only confirms to everyone on the Quiet Council that Hope was the right choice. Oh, sure, she killed Selene, but they can always bring her back whenever they want. Granted, they're not in any hurry right now, considering what she just did. They also didn't lose anyone else on the island, so really no harm, no foul, right? It's after that we're also reminded of the beginning of the previous issue, that flashback to pre-World War II when Mr. Sinister and Irene Adler Destiny had met. Destiny repeats to Sinister now what she said back then, that we must remain on the same side, but strangely enough, Mr. Sinister doesn't seem to remember that conversation they had over 100 years ago. And then, much like she did back then as well, Destiny has some sort of seizure. Whatever the future is, it has become so untenable and so terrifying for Destiny that even someone like her cannot seem to handle it as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Immortal X-Men issue number 2, everybody, and overall I enjoyed this issue as well. Again, I think a lot of people were afraid going into this book, knowing that it was about the Quiet Council, that maybe it would only be about stuffy board meetings. But I think this second issue from Gillen does a good job putting those fears to rest. Yes, the Quiet Council may be the ones who run the day-to-day operations on the island, but they can still get their hands dirty and dusted up with the best of the other mutant teams. I also appreciate putting the focus on Hope Summers too. I didn't think a Quiet Council Immortal X-Men book would revolve around her, but they're actually showing that she has a lot to contribute both in terms of story and to the Council itself. Hell, in this so-called Destiny of X era, even Destiny is getting a ton of play both in this book and over in the main X-Men book. I guess I can see why they named it after her, huh? More than anything though, what keeps me hooked and keeps me coming back is the whole moral ambiguity of this mutant ruling body. How many rules will they bend and break before it's all too much? Overall, I'd feel comfortable giving this one another positive 8 out of 10. It's good stuff. Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.